What's up, DOA fam? Matt Davis here, state president. We are got some members here. We gathered up. We're at the JP gas station here in Jackson, right off of exit 205. We are going to be riding to Xtreme Rider in Warm Springs to show our respects and love to Dan, the owner of Xtreme Rider, who passed away. It's going to be like a memorial service from my understanding. I believe there's going to be a good turnout. Those that don't know Dan, Dan was a very, very awesome guy. Gave a lot to our ministry to help us help other people. So we're obviously going to show up and show our respects to Sue and Lisa and the rest of the Xtreme Rider girls and crew. So we're about to head out and depart.
I need it.
You like red egg bacon?
Yeah. Hey, I'm telling you.
Daniel Gordon Forrest, my beloved husband. I want to say thank you to everyone who came out today from the biker community to our family and friends of Dan over his many years of life. I'll start from a quote of Dolly Parton's new song titled, "If You Hadn't Been There." And I quote, "I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here if you hadn't been there." Unquote. Let me explain why this location was chosen for the event today. From the conception of Xtreme Rider Inc., Dan's plan was for this store to be a gathering, resting place for riders to meet, swap stories, exchange ride information, and, well, just continue to be the brothers and sisters of the wind. As time has moved forward, more and more riders have come our way. Some have stayed, some have moved on. Many have brought friends and family to shop and share their stories. Our relationship with many of our customers has grown, and they are like family to us, and especially those that work with us. We have laughed with many and cried with a few. We cherish every moment. We are fortunate to have assembled the most loyal, hardworking associates/friends that any business could ever hope for. These ladies are priceless and have been with us for over many of our 21 years as we have been in business. We've lost a few employees over the years, but with a loss comes a new gain. During the past several years, the original vision of Xtreme Rider has grown to include a stage for monthly performances and a beer and wine garden for casual outdoor seating. Many friendships have started here, and many trips have been discussed. Live to ride and ride to eat is a well-known saying in the biker community. Riders put on 100+ miles just to eat an ice cream cone or enjoy a group meal at a local restaurant. To be part of that became more and more important to us and to our customers. Dan went to culinary school when he was younger, and owning this food trailer was a dream come true. Please welcome Executive Chef Jimmy Din and his wife Barbara as the new owners of our food trailer. They are continuing the tradition, biker food at a biker price. Having another great chef on our premises is a blessing. Dan made us well known for our various celebrations, ranging from our anniversary party in April to our 3-day celebrations of Memorial Day and Labor Day. We often throw in fundraising events for the lives of the Wounded Warrior Project, the Ronald McDonald House Charity, the combat veterans, and the widow's sons. We host countless rides each year. I chose not to host a ride for this celebration of life because Dan would have wanted you to support the business. He wouldn't have wanted anything to happen to any of you in the event of a large ride or after a celebratory toast. This is a day to celebrate Dan's life, and you're going to hear from several people whose lives were touched by him. Thank you for coming today, and for that, I will be forever grateful. Let me introduce the minister and dear friend who married Dan and I 10 years ago, Dr. Derek Lewis. He will present the prayer, and the eulogy today is based on Isaiah 28:12, which is featured in the closing poem, Gingerbread and Buttercups, written by Dan's mother, Doris, many years ago. Up next is Dr. Derek Lewis.
Good afternoon. Before I really get started, I just want to tell you I knew Dan for a long time. Met him first at Expected, ordered a lot of t-shirts over the years from them, and still do. As a fact, talked to Kim a minute ago about buying some more. Spent a lot of money in that store right there. I would say too much, but Dan would be arguing with me from above. I had to quit riding a few years ago due to some medical problems, but I kept my vest, and I think if it's all right with you, I'm gonna wear it one last time today in his honor. So. Still fits. Not so much the high school stuff. As Sue said, this place was based on Dan's concept of a place of rest. I'd like to read the passage that Sue discussed a moment ago, Isaiah 28:12 for you. Here is a place of rest. Let the tired people come and rest. This is the place of peace. Now, I always read things in several different versions, and one of the versions says this: this is the place of quiet. Clearly, Isaiah never visited Xtreme Rider. Quiet is not part of the equation here. And that's why this is not a funeral, it is a celebration. It is a joyful day. We can't go back and change what's happened, but we can remember the experiences that we had for the rest of our lives. I think the best translation of this text is the place of rest. In fact, rest is the main theme in the Bible. Eden was a great place of rest. God walked in the garden in the cool of the day. He took a day of rest, a Sabbath.
Wow. That's all I got to say. I had all these things in my head, and I knew I'd forget it. Shannon and I have been traveling all week, and I wrote this at the airport. I'm going to try not to be emotional. Dan was a really good friend of ours, Dan and Sue. So, good afternoon, I'm Chicago Mike. This is my better half pound, my wife. Before I start, I wanted to say thank you to Sue for letting us kind of kick this off. I feel we're just like a small part of Dan's circle of life, and to ask us to come up here and talk is truly a blessing. Thank you. Welcome to Dan and Sue's Xtreme Rider. If this is your first time, welcome to history. If you're a repeat offender, you are family, all of you. Half Pound and I met Dan and Sue back in 2015 when we moved to the area. We were quickly treated as family, from Dan, Sue, Lisa, Claire Pickles, and Patch Lady, and all the Xtreme Rider family. It's truly a blessing, because when you're a bike rider, you just ride and find destinations, and what happens is it just causes you to keep coming back, and it becomes a second home. I posted that probably 8-9 years ago under Google, that it was just our second home. Over the years, I've had a close enough relationship with Dan, which included long conversations.
My name's Brent Burdick, and my wife is Susan, and I've been friends with Dan for 35 years, and I'm on the side of, not the biker side, but the at-home side where he relaxes, and I get to drive him crazy. Well, I was his lawn guy. He called me his lawn boy. And I just want to tell you a couple good stories about a couple things that me and him did together, and I'll never forget him. One, when I first started working for him, just doing his yard out there by the golf course, I was doing his yard, and his pool was real low on water. So I thought, I'll be a nice guy, I'll put some water in his pool for him. Well, I turned the water on and left and forgot it. And now he was on a well. This is the first time now. And if you know Dan, he got home and he calls me, he goes, "Brent, did you turn that water on in the pool?" I said, "Yes, sir." "Oh my, I forgot to turn on." Oh, something could happen. I'll just do it. All right, we'll burn it later. We're going, because there was a burn ban. And so I pile all this stuff up and I'm just sweating like crazy. And I said, "Hey, how about something to drink?" He brings me out a half of Diet Coke hot. And he knows I don't like Diet Coke hot. I wanted some ice. I mean, this guy was like I was asking him for Sue to come live with me or something. But so finally he gave it to me, and every time I'd ask, "Hey, what's for lunch or something?" "Forget it. You're not getting no lunch here. Go get your own lunch." So, and if you know Dan now, we were just good buddies, and we were just, that's just kidding around. And so it came about October, we decided, he calls me, he says,
Hi, I'm Karen, Patch Lady, as some know. I had to write mine because I'll go on and on, as some know I can talk. So I like to be thorough, but and I will try not to cry. No grants. It's heartfelt. I was a single mom in 2005 with a sewing machine looking to make some cash. Dan was looking for someone dependable and reliable. That was 20 years ago this month. A few years later, Sue came into the picture. They married in 15. She completed Dan. She never missed a beat in treating us like Dan did. A few years into that, to them being together, they began treating Dan's ladies to a nice evening away. And I kid you not, we had welcome snacks, drinks, fine dining, fabulous hotels, glamping, lavish gifts. This, ironically, was his way of thanking us for loyalty. And I think I can speak for Lisa, Claire, Leslie, and Callie, that if you ever worked for Dan and you had any ounce of integrity, being loyal to him came without even thinking. We were all blessed to be privy to his generosity and being treated like family. Dan was not a boss. He was a friend. Something you can't buy, you can't train, you can't teach. It's like a pawpaw. I'm gonna share with you a few pages to the Dan Forrest chapter in my book of life, which will be gold embossed. Thank you so much, Sue, for this opportunity. Dan treated us ladies equal, but with me, he gave a little extra. I don't have any stories to tell per se. I can only tell you of the kindness, the generosity, the loyalty, the guidance, the protection and support that he showed me, Karen, which led to Patch Lady. Dan allowed me to be here. He made the porch my spot. He promoted and encouraged me with my sewing. He not only recommended me for sewing on patches, but bragged about my alterations and repair. He showed immeasurable trust in me, sometimes more than I had. He said that just me, was an asset to Xtreme. That speaks volume when you're an asset to something that's phenomenal of 25 years plus and this amount of people that come out. He showed pride of me being here. Dan put Patch Lady on the map from North Carolina to Alabama with Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida. And he had nothing to gain. It was all genuine in what he did for me.
Good afternoon. Normally in a situation like this, I take the time to write down thoughts, eulogies, prayers, so on. Today's a little bit different. Dan was a friend, a good friend. And it seemed to me that today should be more from the heart, mostly just winged. I was blessed and honored to spend time with Dan and Sue in the hospital in the last weeks as he struggled and fought. And I can tell you the man had more courage in his little finger, more fight in his left hand than you could ever imagine. Dan was a fighter. He loved life. He loved Xtreme Rider. He loved this family. Because of my wife, Lisa, I got to meet Dan. And Dan was the kind of a guy that one day, standing inside the store, I just made an offhand comment that I would really, really like to go up north and see some of those covered bridges. Just an offhand thought. Little did I know, that soon, we were on our way. Dan planned a trip all the way up the eastern seaboard, island hop outside the Carolinas, all the way up to New Hampshire and Vermont, where Dan had lived. And by God, he knew where every single one of those bridges was. And I'm telling you, beautiful, beautiful bridges. Stuff 250 years old, still standing, still working when our modern stuff's falling down. But Dan planned the whole trip. An experience that Lisa and I would, never would have had without just an offhand comment and somebody whose heart was just so big that he just went, you know what? I'm going to do this for Lisa and Paul. I'm going to plan a trip. And it was 2 weeks that were just, I can't even begin to tell you how good it was and how relaxing. And even though 6-8 hours in the saddle every day isn't necessarily relaxing, but the end result was just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Dan had a heart bigger than most. He was gruff in his own manner. He had a northerner's humor, kind of dry. And sometimes you didn't know he was making a joke, but yeah, he's joking. But Dan was just a special soul. And there are so many people here today, and as has been stated earlier, between the combat vets and Sons of Antioch and a lot of other groups that came through here and were trying to do something good, raise money and for a cause or a situation. Dan was always supportive, always gave somebody the time and the ear and did whatever he could to help others. I was blessed and honored again to be there on Dan.
Wow. I'm Dan's son, and apparently y'all thought more of him than I did, because if you grow up with somebody and know them long enough, you're going to have some bad memories, you're going to have good memories. You got reasons to hate and you got reasons to love. Never given a public speech before, so there's probably a reason why that too. I got a bunch of stuff. Sue said that she's asking everybody to limit it to 5 minutes, and I told her, I said, I got 50 years worth of material and I've got a whole stand-up routine I'm working on. I do have some stories, and we'll try to keep them light. Some of us made up bullshit and some of us not. On the heels of that, about 2 years ago, Dan was in the hospital. He was in for a minor procedure, and I had the opportunity to come out to see him for 3 days, and he tells me on the phone, he says, son, well, I'm not dying, right? And I said, yeah, I know you're not dying, but I'm going to come out, I'll hang out with you in the hospital, and if you want, we can start working on your obituary while I'm there. Because what good is it to hear what somebody's going to say after you're gone? Well, since he didn't take me up on the offer, that means I get to say whatever the hell I want today. I want to say that Dan was born in the mountains. He was born in the Green Mountain state of Vermont. It wasn't the Appalachian Mountains, it wasn't the Smoky Mountains, but I'm thankful to everybody here that he found a home real close by in Pine Mountain. And that's due to everybody's support and love. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming out, for sure. I read on Facebook post, after he passed, about some of his charitable work. And you got people up here speaking. And I break Dan's life down in about 3 different phases. You had a clean-shaven Dan, you had mustache-wearing Dan, and then you had goatee Dan. There's other 3 phases you can break it down into is the peach Bellini drinking Dan, the beer drinking Dan, and then the whiskey drinking Dan. Everybody up here is going to have a different story from different phases of life, and I'm here to kind of fill in some of the pieces about the peach Bellini and clean-shaven Dan that nobody really knew about. So, my parents got together. Dan was about 18 years old. met my mother, and he tried in Vermont, Connecticut, New Hampshire, I believe. He tried to do the farming thing, and we had 2 cows and chickens, rabbits, and a rooster.
My name is Ashley, and I am Dan's daughter. My dad was an amazing man. Even today, as we are all gathered here to celebrate his life, it doesn't seem real that he's gone. Some of my favorite memories are the summers I spent here in Georgia with him. My dad had many hobbies over the years. Some summers you could find us out on the pontoon boat at the lake, tubing and getting an early morning breakfast at the marina. Always looked forward to those mornings with him. Or the days he would take me to work with him at United Business Forums or Expect It, ending the day at the pub, the Idle Hour pub, where he would always get me a Shirley Temple. I will never forget how weird it was going there after I was 21 and I could have a real drink at the pub I had been going to since I was 6 years old. And then one summer I came and the boat was gone, and in its place was a bike. And when my dad would take me on rides, I realized just how much he loved this new hobby of his. And although I worried about him, I was so happy that he had something that brought him so much joy. My dad has always been an extremely hard worker. So when he told me he was opening up Xtreme Rider, I wasn't surprised, but I was so proud to watch his business grow into what it has become today. I even worked in the store one summer when my friend and I came to visit before he expanded to the building it's in today, back when it was in that building over there when he first opened it. My dad has always had a lot of friends, but I always worried about him being by himself. And then Sue came into our lives, and I instantly saw how happy she made him and knew that I didn't need to worry anymore. I'm so thankful for her. From the very beginning, she has always treated me as one of her own, showing so much kindness and love, and it truly shows the kind of woman she is, standing by his side for over a month when he was in the hospital, keeping us all updated and showing nothing but strength during the hardest time of our lives, and I'm so thankful for her.
Hi everyone. Thank you for being here today to celebrate Dan's life. For those of you who know Dan, and let's be honest, you wouldn't be here if you didn't, you know he had a knack for keeping things interesting, whether it was through his quick wit, his love for motorcycles, or his endless supply of jokes. Dan had a way of making his presence known, and even now, he managed to pull one last joke on me. Let me set the scene for you. My mom, Sue, sent me to pick up Dan's ashes from the crematory in Marietta. Now, I work from home, so of course I was in my usual work from home uniform, which is black workout leggings, a sweatshirt, tennis shoes, my hair was thrown up, and I had absolutely no makeup on. I thought it was gonna be a quick errand where I could just walk in, grab Dan, and walk out, right? Mom had called ahead, so I was expecting them to know why exactly I was there. So when I walked in, before I could even say a word, the woman at the front desk told me, go straight to the back and around the corner. So I did. I thought, wow, this place is so nice. They have everything ready for me. As I turned the corner, 2 men in suits jumped up, opened these double doors, and attempted to usher me in. And that's when I realized I was being ushered right into the middle of a memorial service that was not for Dan. I'm standing there in my leggings and a sweatshirt, looking like I just came from the gym, while everyone else is in their Sunday best, staring at me like, who is she? I turned right back around and nearly sprinted to the front desk. I was so embarrassed. I said, I'm not here for that, I'm here for Dan. The woman apologized and led me to a waiting room where I needed to sign my life away for Dan and I to get out of there. As I'm sitting there, I'm just laughing because I knew that was so Dan. He just had to get me one last time. But the story doesn't end there. As I walked to my car, I found myself talking to Dan like he was sitting there with me. I'm saying things like, come on, Dan, we gotta go, and sorry, bud, but you're not riding my front seat today. On the drive home, it dawns on me that once we get home, I have to put him somewhere. So I thankfully have a place in the backyard, and it's nice, don't worry. And I thought, perfect, Dan can hang out in there. So I get out of the car, and I go to the door, and of course, it's locked. And my husband, who was out of town that week, had the key. So I'm standing there laughing again, because I know Dan is just having a great time messing with me this day. So I say, all right, big guy, you win. You can stay in my house tonight. And he did. He ended up spending the night in my house. And I can only imagine how hard he was laughing.
I'm Dave Burgess with the Christian Motorcyclists Association. I joined the CMA in 2013, and I met Dan not long after that because we come down here to volunteer to help out whenever we can. And Dan has really made a special place in my heart. And I also enjoyed his humor quite a bit. And one of the things that sticks out in my mind is, and when he put the food trailer in over here, he started dressing in the chef's clothes. We've all seen it, right? Well, I especially loved the red pants he had. So when he first got the red pants, I didn't say a whole lot about it. I'm thinking, well, you know, it's getting close to Christmas. He's got the Christmas spirit. But then Christmas passes by and Dan's still wearing the red pants. So I say, Dan, I said, you're the only guy I know that comes to work in his pajamas. And in Dan's typical humor, he just looks at me and says, shut up, David, what do you want? But I have the pleasure of reading this poem that his mother wrote in 1981 by Miss Dolores Eleanor Forrest. It's called Buttercups and Gingerbread. I went strolling in the pasture by myself, I thought, the other day, and I found so many treasures he had put there just to show me on my way. One half of a bird's blue eggshell, blue like the sky that day, to tell me there is new life. I had a prayer to say. I sat upon an old tree stump to rest and say my prayer of thanks to our Creator, and I became aware of a group of British soldiers in the moss beside the seat. I thought of Christian soldiers, and my prayer became complete. I saw the tiny rose, red moss flowers as drops of his precious blood, and tears ran down my face like a sacramental flood. Oh, the peace that was within me, with the truths that I had been shown. Oh, such a blessed comfort when you feel you are his own. Yes, he knew how much I need him when he sent me on this walk. He told me of the scriptures, though we didn't really talk. I came home with the treasures I had seen out there. A troop of British soldiers, the bird's eggshell so blue, and a great mass of golden buttercups that I had gathered too. I arranged these sunny flowers in a brown bowl made of clay. I thought, this is what I am. Again, I bent to pray. Back home with so much joy and gladness and peace within my heart, I created something for us of the culinary art. A spicy, soft brown gingerbread came into my mind. It turned into an altar fare, but of another kind. Buttercups and gingerbread on my kitchen shelf. We shared this homey sacrament, my dear Lord and myself. The buttercups were his, of course. The gingerbread was mine. And with a glass of milk instead of sacramental wine. I thanked him for the morning and the time we had shared, for his grace that did so cleanse me and the love again declared. He left the Holy Spirit to watch over me. I know he'll not be long. This is the refreshing, and I praised him with a song. Thank you.